I avoided watching I Spit on Your Grave for the longest of time, mainly because I'd seen bad quality clips of the most salacious of moments and wrote it off as a load of adolescent-minded crap made purely for shock value. As I grow older and opinions change, I'm now aware that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad.
Hey, Matthew! Bravo! Come on, Tiger!
Come on, don't miss your chance, Matthew.
Try it, Matthew. It'll be good, you'll see.
It's now or never, Matthew.
Come on, Matthew. Try it, baby. Go on. Show us what you can do.
Hey, Matthew's going to do it. He's going to do it.
Horror is very similar to comedy, in the fact that they both need a build and release of tension. It's also very easy to make a bad one. The difference is there's still a market for a terrible horror film, but no one wants to see a comedy which is unfunny. I'm not sure what suddenly flipped in my mind, but I was suddenly compelled to watch this film. And the first thing that struck me was how good it looks. Bright, colourful, sharp, and rather well edited.
Hi.
High test, please.
For those who don't know, YouTube has some very strict rules about what you can say in your videos, so I will be curbing my language when talking about the themes of this film to avoid being strangled by the algorithm. Camille Keaton plays Jennifer Hills, a writer who comes to a small town in the middle of nowhere for some peace and quiet to finish writing her book. She befriends a delivery boy with a mild mental disability, who reports back to 3 thugs that there's a new woman in town. The 4 men hunt Jennifer down and take in turns to attack her in a way I wouldn't wish upon anyone. This is a grueling sequence which takes up a large percentage of the film's running time, and is largely responsible for the film's notoriety. Somehow Jennifer survives this act, and the delivery boy is told to murder her, an act which he cannot bring himself to do. So he fakes her death and tells the attackers the deed has been done. When she is physically recovered, Jennifer tools up and exacts sweet revenge on her assailants. If that doesn't sound like the sort of thing you'd like to watch, perhaps you can understand why I didn't for so long.
I started looking at the script and I thought, wow, this is a great opportunity to show my range of emotions. I can start out as a normal, happy, and then I become a victim, and then I can play a villain.
This film was one of the 72 movies on the Video Nasties list created at the dawn of home video, effectively banning it in the UK. It was eventually released with 7 minutes and 2 seconds cut out in 2001, then re-released in longer form in 2003 in a version that reframed several scenes, but was still cut by 43 seconds. The original framing was restored in 2010, but cut by 3 minutes. The cuts were reduced to 1 minute 41 seconds for the 2020 Blu-ray release, and that edit was used for the 2022 4K release.
Get on with it, let's go. Okay, let's sprint.
Hey, come on, Stan.
I'm not entirely sure what's missing from the latest version of the film. They often don't give these sorts of film much love and attention when removing sensitive material, but I couldn't spot where the edits were. And though it may not seem extreme from the clips selected here, trust me, it's a tough watch.
Here.
Hey. You got a boyfriend?
I have many boyfriends.
Could I be your friend?
Sure.
Anytime you need, you just call me and I'll be here super fast.
The mentally slow delivery boy character, who is led astray by his peers, is one of the many things which makes this film difficult viewing. He is Jennifer's only chance of a saviour during her assault. So when he is successfully encouraged to join in, it really made me feel sick. What is also unsettling, and possibly not intentionally so, is the character seems to be played for laughs. Maybe it's a sign of the times when it was made, or maybe it's poor direction, but the goofy nature in which this character is performed wouldn't be out of place in a comedy, were it not for his crimes.
Do you know what 2 weeks like that does to a dead body? The body will decompose.
It's one of the few misfires of this film, which leads me to talk about the events, which I'm sure everybody who's got this far into the review already knows about. It's been claimed that the focus on the nudity and the vulnerability of the Jennifer character makes this film misogynistic. Other people have claimed that Jennifer tooling up and taking control of her own narrative gives this a feminist point of view. But the truth is, it's got to be both. But without the assault at the beginning, then the revenge is just another attack. And without the revenge, leads me to wonder why you would be watching this film at all.
It was in one of the trade papers, and when I went in for the audition, I talked with Meir, and he explained how the incident where he had rescued someone who had been raped and the difficulty that he had, or they had, going to the police, and the fact that it was very ineffective. This was an answer to that.
I personally can't get on board with this argument that this prolonged sequence was made with the express intentions to titillate, as it is relentlessly horrible. And just when you think it's all over, it's horrible all over again. So when she comes back to exact her revenge, I almost whooped and cheered. Then I remembered what Nietzsche said about the abyss.
When you gaze into the abyss gazes back into you.
Perhaps she should have let the delivery boy live. He doesn't have the mental faculties the other three men have, and he was peer pressured into joining in. I'm not saying that she needs to forgive him, but teaching him a lesson rather than ending his life shows Jennifer is a better person as well as a badass. That could be my own writing sensibilities showing through. But I was wrong about this film. I judged it by low quality clips and by second-hand accounts of the most gruesome events. That doesn't represent the film at all. Yes, it's hard to watch, it's gruesome, it's a horror film, but it also has a point. So I went out and I got the sequel, and I was ready to be wrong about that too.
Well, that was nice. We got to meet in the middle of the day. Where'd you park?
Excuse me, ma'am. Aren't you Jennifer Hill?
The one and only.
Do you think we could get your autograph?
Gladly.
Welcome back, Jennifer Hill.
The director of the original film, Meir Zarchi, reunites with his star and former wife, Camille Keaton, to walk in the footsteps of their previous film, 40 years after its release.
You know, find yourself a nice balding guy who doesn't mind kissing you with that awful stench of garlic on your breath. Settle down already, Mom.
I've done pretty good with you, babe, as a single mom.
Jennifer, now a successful writer, with a book about the events of the first film topping the bestseller charts, meets with her daughter, Christy, a successful supermodel, for an exposition-laden conversation where they discuss their careers and how wonderfully successful they both are. They step out into the car park to exchange some clunky dialogue, and then a passing van filled up with creepy weirdos stops to ask for an autograph. And would you believe it, those creepy weirdos are not as nice as they look. And they're all related in one way or another to the four men that were killed in the first movie. The mother and daughter are separated, and Jennifer manages to escape in possibly the most pathetic tensionless scene in the whole film. Meanwhile, Christy outsmarts her captor by basically saying, "Look at that!" and when he turns to see what she's pointing at, she runs away. The island of misfit toys catches up with Jennifer at a church and chop her head off. Then they go after Christy. Upon finding her, they strip her naked and do what everyone was expecting was going to happen when they announced an I Spit on Your Grave sequel. Christy survives the attack and runs away in the nude. She hides in the wood and steals some clothes from a washing line. It turns out this house is the home of one of her assailants. She takes the opportunity to take her revenge. First on him, and then on everyone else involved in her and her mother's attack. The end. This film is fucking shit.
Did you ever think that there would be a sequel like 40 years later?
Actually, no, I didn't. I kept asking Meir for 30 or 35 years, are you going to make a sequel to this film? And one day I get a telephone call and we're going to make a sequel. So I had given up by then, and I'm so happy that they've done it.
It's hard to say what went wrong with this movie, as almost everything feels inept. Badly written, badly shot, really badly edited, and way, way too long. It's almost 2.5 hours.
And the only justice for a killer bitch like you is a knife through your throat, stab through that evil fucking heart, and 6 feet of crushing dirt.
Bring my daughter back to me and let us go home.
The only real asset the film has is the casting of Jim Tavray, who, if you don't know, is a really funny deadpan comedian from the UK.
There are plenty of differences between the US and the UK. There's so many. You've got cheerful people, teeth. You've got Everything's a lot bigger. Everything's huge. This American violin.
Here he is cast against type as a stammering American hick and father of the now deceased delivery boy from the first film. This brings me to another problem I have. That is the fact that it's set 40 years after the original. Jim Tavray would have been 15 during the events of the first film. Old enough to sire a child, I admit, but not the 25-year-old delivery boy. It is implied that Christy is the offspring of one of her mother's attackers from the first film, most likely this guy. But Jamie Bernadette very clearly isn't 40. She was born in 1987. So unless her gestation period was 4.5 times that of the average elephant, then I would get a second paternity test. This character, Becky Stillman, as played by Maria Olsen, is meant to be this character from the first film, here played by Alexis Magnotti, who was also the continuity person. Shame she didn't work on the second film as her skills were sorely needed. Maria Olsen would have been 12 at this time. Interestingly, her children are played by the same two actors in both films, though they never seem to question why they're the same age as their parents in the second movie.
You are getting mighty famous and filthy rich on account of my husband's blood.
The acting, for the most part, is so hammy and cheesy that it could be confused with a toasty. I don't think it's fair to blame the actors for that. Well, at least not the female leads. I've seen them both in other films giving very good performances. They must have been directed to act like this. Meir Zarchi has made 3 films, and that was 2 of them. One I really liked, the other I really didn't. I haven't seen Don't Mess With My Sister. In fact, I'm not even sure where it's available. But I've learnt one thing, and that's not to judge a film until you've seen it. Until next time, I'm Scott Kingsworth, and I'm making a movie. Oh, before you go, I should say that I don't do this support me on Patreon or like, share, subscribe outros that everybody else does. But if you want to support this channel, I have got an Etsy shop where you can buy my hand-drawn art. Stuff like this. I sell them in sort of blind bags where you'll get 5 pictures sort of randomly. Some colour, some black and white. It's a good way to support me and to clear some of my art out of the house. Also, I wrote a audio play. It's from a new app by Audio Republic. You can download it. The app is free of charge, but you have to pay for the plays. It's called Romance on the Thames. If you'd like to get that, there's also a link in the description. Thanks very much.